sauti ni kama imeona better days. Ile jani ili take ndio ifike hapa kwa studio.
Definitely, it's a wet season, but then kudos to mwenye analeta.
Ame struggle lakini imefika. This is a star. History as Safaricom makes 37 billion shillings profit. Telco now the most profitable company in East and Central Africa. So Ethiopia subscribers increase, M-Pesa rules in Kenya, Safaricom's big revenue. Then stories on page 8. If I could just tell you the half-year results, Safaricom group net profit up by 21% to 36.7 billion. Group service revenue up 12% to 179 billion. M-Pesa revenue up 16% to 77 billion. Group voice revenue 4.5% up to 40.8 billion. Mobile data revenue up 21% to 37.5 billion. Messaging revenue up 8% to 6.2 billion. Watu watumi SMS squeezy lakini na make profit. Ethiopia subscribers 52 million. Wow. Congratulations to Safaricom. It is the most profitable company in East and Central Africa, and they have the image there of Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa on the front page. Other quick highlights on the front page of this paper: abductors still holding 29 Kenyans, but police say, COCC, that's according to the IG of police, Douglas Kanja. Amesema yes, kuna watu wame-disappear, like 29 of them, they're being held by abductors, but sio polisi. So how did he know that? Anyway. Elsewhere, Kalonzo team deal with Rigathi in the offing. New alliance set for next year. So Rigathi Gachagua, who was impeached, could just get into a political deal with Kalonzo Musyoka's team. And managing pollution, lesser mealworm, scientists discover worms that reduce menace of plastic waste. Now, this is quite a heavy paper because of the Siasa pullout. Yes. And the big story there is upcoming cabinet choices, the new headache for Ruto. We talked about this earlier in the week, that there are still now vacancies within his cabinet that need to be filled. Na kuna watu wengi sana wataka kazi. And it was on the cartoon, one of the cartoons yesterday, showing how it's going to be a very hot seat on who takes particularly the interior docket. Exactly. Also on Siasa, Raila takes AUC chairman campaigns to Addis and diplomats. That's the front page of the Star today. On People Daily, they have a photo of Vice President of the USA, Kamala Harris. They say how Trump victory will affect you as a common mwananchi ukiwa pahali uko. As Kamala concedes, saying she was proud of the race, Team Ren, and the way they did it. And they love the kind of democracy they have. Making a phone call to Trump and telling him, good stuff, manze. Good stuff, you won, nimekubali. And Joe Biden, who is the US president, saying, nitembelee hapa White House kidogo pia. Before uapishwe, nitembelee nikuonyeshe around. Najua, you've been here before. Tumefanya renovations. Tumefanya renovations kidogo, so unaweza kuwa umesahau pahali some things are. So yes, it's an amazing stuff to see. And even as we're going to take a look at the cartoons, how they're comparing what was happening versus locally. Even there's so many content creators who have done such skits on how the US elections were done and what we see typically in Africa. All right. It wasn't us, police chief says on Gen Z massacre. Ooh. That's a very hot potato there. Ruto eyes new window for borrowing spree. It's on the splash of Daily Nation. We'll be coming to that. Business Daily talks about the private sector pay falls for first time in over 30 years. Because you've been in the private sector miaka yote. Not for 30 years though. Okay, so average monthly pay in Kenya's private sector has fallen for the very first time in over 3 decades to 75,781, reflecting the impact of the country's soft economy that has pushed firms to keep a lead on costs. Yeah, so si ati pesa, kuna pesa iko lakini they're holding back. They're not going overboard in paying people. So wanaangalia hivyo wanachungulia, maybe probably as things improve, if at all they will improve, wanaweza rudisha mkono baadaye. So that means in an interview, the employer would ask you, okay, how much do you want? And the person who quotes the list would be picked. Not necessarily. Watakwambia, this is what we are offering for this position. A position which previously would have attracted a lot more in terms of remuneration. That story about Safaricom's great profits features also on the front page of the Business Daily. Ethiopia's beer hits Safaricom as Kenya unit profits grow. So Safaricom will take longer to break even in Ethiopia after depreciation of the Horn of Africa's nation currency, beer. cut the telecoms operators' net profit amid a thriving Kenyan business. So despite the growing business in terms of numbers in Ethiopia, Safaricom is yet to break even there, but locally it is still the most profitable company in East and Central Africa. And you can be doing badly in one sector, but you're still the best. Yeah? Kudos to Safaricom. Okay. That's the Business Daily.
It's a sister paper, Daily Nation. The splash says loans. Members of Parliament give Ruto blank check. They have that on pages 4 and 5. In context, they say the government is seeking a free hand to continue borrowing beyond the legal debt ceiling of 55% of the gross domestic product, the GDP. As part of new proposals sponsored by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, the National Treasury has proposed extension of coming into force of the debt threshold as a percentage of the GDP to beyond 2028. And just to give you more context on that, the Central Bank of Kenya data that is now on page 4 here shows that the public debt stood at 10.6 trillion Kenya shillings as of June 2024, compared to 10.3 trillion recorded in June 2023. So this means that you're going to be seeing this number increasing over the next coming years.
Ideally, Parliament would have capped that borrowing to a maximum of 55% of the GDP. But we're already at 70%. So we're already in defiance of that. But they say, okay, fine. Hata hii ilikuwa proposal, it can wait till 2028. For now, there's no ceiling. We're not talking about GDP, a percentage of the GDP. So anaweza enda hata borrow 100% of GDP. Sio mbali sana. Kama tuko 70%.
Ni 30% tu.
It's only 30%. Yeah, tafika hapo.
Other conversations on the front page of Daily Nation. MPs allege evidence tampering in 16.5 billion cash shillings edible oils scam probe. And on the back page, you'll read that the legislators want to know the status of the investigations into the controversial scandal, claiming high-level interference into the inquiry. This development comes following the admission by the Kenya National Trading Corporation that Kenya lost at least 6.5 billion. When you contrast these two stories on the loans and what we are losing from some edible oil scams, sijui unaonaje kama Mkenya. It matters education. State promises to promote primary head teachers. They are, I think, in Mombasa, and they're saying that we want also to be called principals. At least tunataka hii jina head teachers, I give
headmaster.
I give, as Gen Z would say, we want to be called principals. Other conversations, abductions. It's not us, police boss. This is a conversation that all, or rather most dailies in Kenya have gone with. It also talk about Kamala Harris conceding but vows to fight on. And the county crisis as county workers go months without salaries. That's just a nutshell of what is in Daily Nation today.
All right. On the Standard, they talk about abductions puzzle, as police say it wasn't us, and you've seen that in all other dailies. The identity of people behind the recent spate of abductions, which has angered Kenyans and drawn condemnation, was thrown into a spin yesterday after top police bosses led by the IG denied before MPs that police officers had anything to do with it. So what are they saying? Is there another unit that is not part of the police service that was actually doing the abductions?
Yeah.
Yes, because it cannot be the general public just abducting people. It must be some military unit somewhere. Yes. So that's the big question there. Kama sio polisi ni nani?
Nani je?
And what does it mean? What is the fate of those 29 people who are still missing? There's a very disturbing story there on the front page of the Standard today. Sex pest held for filming children. That story is there on page 11 of the Standard. And it's one of those stories you don't like on a Friday.
Yes.
Elsewhere, Raila's AUC chair campaign enters crucial phases, launching officially his campaign in Addis Ababa. All the best to him. Ni kama watu walisahau hii story. What AUC chair, no one is talking about it. So much has happened. The impeachment of the deputy president, okay, US elections, tunafanya KCAC, Safaricom iko na do.
It has been a very busy 2 months of Rigathi Gachagua on the front pages. So now, I think maybe the fact that it's going to be launching, events that will follow would really
Yes.
speak.
Probably this will return this conversation back to the front pages.
Yes.
Other quick highlights: senators clash with MPs over county billions. Russia's new demand to end attacks on the international front. The Safaricom profits there, and Ateta's vow after losses. Tim kubwa ile pale. We don't have time.
Is that,
we don't have
what
time.
you're going to go with?
Tuko na gazeti la Taifa Leo hapo tukimalizia.
Kaunti za kauka ndio taarifa kuu pale, wasema hatua ya hazina kuu kuchelewa kutuma mgao wa kaunti ya kuhamisha huduma. Wafanyikazi pale, wanachama wa uguzi KNUN wakigoma. Kwingineko pale juu, msanii Princess Julie aagwa kishujaa. Kule Mombasa, magenge yatetemesha Mombasa, inakuanga kero kubwa sana kule. Vijana wanaojihami kwa mapanga wameanza kuwatia hofu wakazi wa mtaa wa Kisauni. Taarifa nyingine ambayo ni muhimu sana kwako kama mpenzi wa ugali au mahindi, kesi za kupinga GMO zatupwa na mahakama. Sema koti yazima kesi zinazopinga hatua ya serikali ya kuondoa marufuku dhidi ya vyakula vya GMO.
Kwa hivyo GMO sasa itakuwa halali.
Halali.
We?
Hiyo ni Taifa Leo hii.
Ni siku 47 tu kabla ya Christmas. So GMO ndio utakuwa unakula mlo wako wa Christmas. Tuangazie masuala ya karakacha sasa. The cartoons, we start off with the one on the Standard, and he talks about this guy with a plaque with his name Abrake. We know who that is.
Yes.
But there's a very big elephant standing right next to him. The elephant in the room.
Yes.
Is the abductions. He was the CS Interior when these abductions happened. So yesterday, when he officially took over the office of the Deputy President, the annex, he crossed the road to the Harambee Annex. So he called a press conference. One journalist akamuuliza, so ukiwa CS, hii mambo ya abductions ili happen, what do you have to say about it? Kasema, the politics of my elevation is now behind us. I'll focus on my new role. Your story tumemaliza. Behind it. What is behind? The politics of my elevation is now behind. Behind him is a big elephant, the abduction. Sio mimi nimesema, ni the cartoonist on the Standard.
Gamzo amesema.
Siseme, Freddy amesema, cartoonist.
Meanwhile, congratulations. This is People Daily's cartoon, and they have Donald Trump celebrating his win as number one there, but they have a begging bowl, and the hand is Africa, and Africa telling him congratulations. So
the only reason we're telling him congratulations is
so that
what are we getting it?
Asante manze. Asante.
Once again, sio sisi tumesema.
Mr.
wa gazeti. Finally, the Daily Nation, and this is one you're talking about.
Yes.
So the contrast between how elections are conducted in the United States and what we are so used to seeing locally. So kuna acceptance speeches elsewhere. It was record. You know, there were close to 200 million voters. But within 24 hours, the results were out. They even had declared the president. We are only about 12 million voters in Kenya.
But it takes
14 million who voted.
It takes
another one a whole month.
A whole month acquires to be
no there. Concession speech.
Yes.
Vita tu hapa jamaa ameshika fandili, wanaitana mwizi, you stole. Wanaasha moto, wanavunja madirisha. That is locally.
Yes.
Something to learn from the US election. We don't have to agree. We don't always have to agree. And it's not always that my candidate has to win. Hata ukishinda, when in Kenya pia, you can continue.
I'm seeing Mozambique is also getting into all this.
Same thing. Tear gas inatamba huko sana, Msumbiji. Hawajafurahia matokeo ya uchaguzi.
Yes.
That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation. So we'll be looking at some of these headlines and the cartoons and what is represented in these stories with my panelists after the break. Do stand by for that conversation. So this is something we were talking about earlier. Feel Good Friday.
Oui. C'est... Hata hiyo French imepotea.
Tu parles français?
Oui, je parle français. Oui. Top Classic Band will be right